So back in 2018, I was standing in my school hall with my O-level results slip in my hand. I was barely holding it together. My eyes were starting to get wet and I didn't want to close my eyes because I didn't want a tear to roll down my eyes. At that moment, I felt so freaking hopeless. As if everything I did for the past 10 years, and especially everything I sacrificed for the past 6 months, meant nothing. I felt like the whole universe was laughing at this pathetic little kid, and I was fighting against the entire world. I knew my friends also hated to see me like this. But for you to understand why I was about to break down and why I felt so betrayed at that moment, we have to go back to 6 months before, where it all started. My dad and I were coming home from a parent-teacher meeting, and that day, he told me some words that I never thought would come out of his mouth. He said, "Son, you can continue to study here in Singapore if you get into Victoria Junior College." This was huge because all my life I was told that I would be sent to India right after O-levels because we just couldn't afford to study here. We have applied for PR as a family for 5 times. We got rejected every single time, and paying $1,700 a month as a foreigner in JC is something that we just couldn't afford. So that single sentence is something that was so unbelievable, and it meant so much to me because finally I saw a glimmer of hope for me to continue studying in the place I love. But the problem was that I had kept getting 13 points in my school examinations, and to get into Victoria Junior College, I needed to get 8 points. I had very little time to catch up, so I made the commitment that day. I will do everything in my power to get the grades needed to stay in Singapore. So I was on fire. I had so much work to do and so little time, and I had subjects like geography and Tamil I had no idea how to study because I always neglected them. So I just went crazy. For Tamil, I would write essays every few days and bring it to my teacher for it to be marked. Like, funny enough, I would even camp outside staff room to just catch the teacher when she comes to mark the paper on the spot for me before I went home. And I was doing this hustle for every subject out there. But then when my class test results came, I was still stuck at that 11-12 points mark. I was still far away from the 8 points needed to get to VJC. But at the same time, something else happened. There were these overseas scholars that were studying in my class, and they were going through the exams like it was nothing. They were finishing the exams early and getting 90% for their results. Like, for context, if you get 75%, that is the highest tier of grade you can get. There's nothing more after that. But I was so confused because they didn't seem to celebrate the results. They didn't even seem like they cared about it. And I was starting to get pissed because it made me feel like they didn't respect the grades they were getting at all. Like, show some happiness, man. Why do you have to be so fake all the time? Dude, it's like, if you show your happiness, it's not like I'm going to steal your A from you. I was thinking if any of this matters to them. And deep down, I just wished I had the brains that they had, because I was struggling my ass off to barely scrape through the exams, but they were just cruising through life. I felt so small in their presence. But I really didn't have time to think about all this. O-level was right around the corner, and I had to get to the 8 points mark fast. But then, a month before the results were released, my family got hit with 2 back-to-back blows. First, our pending PR application got rejected by ICA once again. And what's worse, my dad's company was being sold off and my dad was fired. There was absolutely no chance that we could spend $1,700 a month without my dad having a job in Singapore, no matter if I had gotten to VJ or not. And this was why, when I was in the O-level results day, I was looking into my results slip and I was tearing up because my grind for those past 6 months actually paid off. I didn't get the same 12 points that I always gotten in class, and I didn't even get the 8 points that once seemed so unattainable. I got 3. I got an A in every subject except for English. You know what's the funny part? If anyone else had gotten that results, they could go to any JC in Singapore they wanted. But for me, I couldn't go to any JC in Singapore. What a cruel joke the universe played on me. You know, I can still remember how hopeless I felt that time. And to make matters worse, some of my classmates had came over and they were disappointed because they got 9 and 10 points, barely missing the chance to go into VJC. And when I shared with them my result in a cold and unexcited manner, they were like, "Dave, are you sad you never get 2 points? Like, what the hell? Be grateful for what you have gotten." I knew exactly why they were pissed. They were probably thinking, wow, this Dave is so sad because he thinks he deserves 2 points. What a douchebag. And I won't fault them for it because that's exactly how I felt with the scholars, remember? At that moment, I could only whisper to myself, bro, I would exchange places with any of you if I could just get to stay in Singapore. Well, lesson learned. I realized then that everyone is having their own struggles and battles. The grass is greener always on the other side. That day, I was walking around the hall with a smile on my face, but no life on my eyes because I accepted my fate and I decided I'll make the best out of what I can.